We are live at 7:30, so if you'd like to start, that would be great.
Good evening. This is the Planning Board, Village of Warwick, August 11th, 2026 meeting. First thing we're going to do is stand for.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Okay. Jesse Gallup,
Here.
Brian Barber, Vanessa Holland,
Present.
Scott Brown,
Here.
Bill Olson,
I'll be here.
Matthew Opinto,
Here.
Keith Woodruff,
Here.
Elizabeth Cassidy.
Here.
Alright. Should we can I have a motion to approve the Planning Board meeting minutes from July 14th, 2026.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain. Not present. So we got 4 or 5 members, right?
We have enough.
Right, just make sure you're
Five.
I haven't.
alternate.
Yeah, and also.
Cool. First thing on the agenda for applications is 15 Elm Street, site plan subdivision application.
Good evening. I'm Joe Iracy, architect, owner of this property. So just a quick history of this land. It's the old feeding grain site, which was basically sold farm equipment and implements and fencing, horse feed and all of that. There was 7 buildings on the land. It was fully impervious. The whole thing was this was a building that was 400 feet long. This was a house here. There was another building here. There was an 8-car garage here. So the only thing that was green was this part. So it was a lot of impervious property. We bought it, and we were gonna propose these apartments in this location here when we first bought it 5 years ago, but it just became too complicated to get both things approved. Turning this into a residence, changing the zone, doing the addition onto this building and building that. So we just took it off the site plan, and we go in at the time just to get the thing approved. So now we are circling back to it 5 years later, and we're interested in building this property. So again, the whole site was just impervious surface. It's kind of still is, but we went to planning board a 1.5 years ago to turn this into a huge berm, which looks like this right here, which is about 4 feet of dirt. This is the berm looking back at the building, because we wanted to create the ability to plant trees and plants. There's nothing to grow there. It's just hard as a rock, trees for shoveling ground. So we raised it up. And also from these little sitting areas, you can look at the river. So we're trying to give an amenity to these apartments. So we're looking at currently 5 apartments. We even thinking maybe we could fit another one on there, but right now this is the submittal. So the first order of business would be to split the land off. It's 1.1 acres, so we're gonna split it right about here, so that that's 1.5 acre and this is 1/2 acre. There also exists an existing driveway that we own, which is also a right-of-way for this little Doty's garage here. So that would be the entrance for the apartment dwellers, and then we would just maintain the entrance off of Elm Street. So we basically are splitting the property in half. But we're not gonna stop people from driving through. We're just gonna prefer that they use this as kind of the way in and out, and just like we would, but for bigger vehicles, like emergency vehicles, anyone could just drive right through it. People drive through it all the time now anyway. So the first thing is split the land. So in the comments from Elizabeth we have to kind of create this second property. So we created an LLC called 29 West Street LLC, but we haven't done the subdivision yet, so we don't have the meets and bounds of that property. So I understand that's all forthcoming to turn this into its own property. So that's part of this process, is to subdivide it, have our surveyor create the 2 property, the 2 Ds, and then it would have an official name to it. So for now, it's just all under the Feed and Grain. So that was one of your comments.
Well, just to clarify that comment, my comment is the application materials, the application, the seeker, the plans should match the record owner. I don't care who will own it in the future, but your applications throughout the application materials, some are in your personal name, some are in Feed and Grain LLC, some are in the 29, mention the 29 West Street LLC, but they should all be consistent as to the record owner. And if 29 LLC is a contract vendee, they can be an applicant. And it's to follow who is the actual party in interest, for a multitude of reasons. But that was the nature of the comment, not 29. But you should make all of your documents consistent, because some are in your personal name, some are in the LLC.
Right.
So that's the comment.
Well, I'm the
I'm
president of the LLC.
I mean, the documents should all match.
Okay.
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 I know that sounds like a nitpick, but
No.
the documents should match so that we know who has standing. I know, obviously, I'm familiar that you're the president of the LLC, but we need to make sure that the party that is on all the plans is the party in interest. So,
Okay, we will take care of that. Also, some comments about this short assessment form, which was basically populated by the, so I tried to change this, and you can't change it. You get rid of one check and the other one disappears. It just wouldn't work out, so there was some kind of conflicts with populating it. That's why last time I was here, I went through and just kind of wiped it down, put my own check in there, and they said, don't do that. Just whatever it is, just live with it. But that's what I'm saying, there's a little kind of a glitch in this, just to make you, of course, it's not a yes or no. It's in some of these, it's weird that it populates both of them. But we will go through this and make sure each one of these things are correct. But again, like when it populates it for you, I don't know what to do. Maybe it's not familiar with our site. Because it's certainly not like in a protected area. It's an old industrial site. So we'll go there. Keith is our engineer. He's sitting right there in the back of the room. I also read all comments from Keith, the engineer, and it's all fine. I get it. I feel good about the whole project. I think it's a great project for the town. So what we're creating here with Kim Gableman, she's our partner here, is basically images that look like the Feed and Grain building, kind of a contemporary industrial modern look to the building, which matches our little Feed and Grain tower. So similar materials, galvanized siding, black and exposed wood siding. We're in a floodplain, so we have to park underneath it. There'll be no garage doors. It's basically carports. We have to raise it up about 8 feet above grade to get well above the floodplain. Nothing I can do about that, so we're just gonna have to live with it. These are fully sprinkler townhouses. So the way you enter these buildings is the backyard here. So there's a path behind it, which is an accessible path. And some of these units are handicap accessible, especially the very first one has a bedroom downstairs, but they're all, you can kind of walk right into them. As you can see here, because this back of this lot is way higher than the river side of the lot, so it's full story differential. And but the owners could park under their apartments, and there's a door at the back where it comes up to the main floor. So they'll have a little vault back there with a staring in, bicycle storage, or whatever they want. But I don't want to create a giant garage that's going to be filled with people's junk. We want to just keep it all open. And then we have 5 additional spots right here, so there's 5 and 5. One thing we were considering is maybe we could actually fit another one, make this one smaller and just put one right there, so the footprint would not change, but that would actually be a whole apartment instead of a one-story wing on either side, because we have these little one-story wings here. So I don't know, I have to think that through, but either way, the zoning and the setbacks and all the other bulk requirements would not change. It would just be 6, so we'd have to have another car here and another car underneath, just a thought. Some of your comments, Elizabeth, was, I don't know why these just ended up on here. I guess the surveyor ended up putting these comments saying that these are proposed changes. It's all built, it's been built for 5 years, but when a surveyor did the work and surveyed it, because the survey is sitting right here, and this is just 6 months old, for some reason those notes got on there. I don't know how it happened, so yes, we'll take care of that. Everything that's existing will not change. We're not proposing any work to anything over here. except adding these couple more spots here. Otherwise, we're done with that. I don't want to relive that whole thing. But we feel that this is a special project for the town. It fits in with your, the village plan for the future, because this is a sustainable building, it's all electric, it's recycled products. We're reforesting the entire project. Since we got it, we kind of planted, so we probably have 30 trees that we planted just in this area, pollinator plants and a lot of fruit-bearing plants for deers, and we see so much life there coming out of the river, not just deers, but a lot of rabbits are there, woodchucks, birds, there's millions of birds there. So this was something that probably was never there for almost 200 years, because this was always either a coal lot or a lumber yacht or an industrial lot. Trains used to drive through here. There was 3 tracks right here that served our building and came right into it and delivered coal. So it's a pretty interesting history. So we love that. We love the industrial history, but we really want to make it a lot of green space here. And that's why I kind of threw some color in here. As you see, there's going to be a lot more grass there than probably ever was. This is the typical layout. Downstairs, you have the 5 parking spots with the little vaults in the back. On the main floor, you basically have the living room, entry, stairs, tall ceilings, little balconies popping out. And then on the top floor, you have 2 bedrooms in each of the apartments, with little balconies, these little guys here. So it's exciting, and we're hoping that people would kind of wish that there was something like this, rather than just, being on a street with a lot of noise. We love the idea of living in the town, and people just walk out of this building. In the village. I come from a small town, so I never called it a village. So we like the idea of just being able to walk out and going to your stores or to a restaurant without driving anywhere. But this is such a quiet site. When you drive down either one of these little entries, either here or through West Elm Street, it's so quiet. All you hear is the river, and it's like a whole other world. You can't believe you're right in the middle of the village. So I think other people would want that kind of lifestyle. So we're trying to create that. We want to get around, and satisfy these variance requirements. Because the setbacks, it is what it is. We're trying to not have, I don't think we can get 30 feet on the backyard, so it's only 12 feet. So I understand there's 4 or so setback variances we require. But otherwise, I feel like a lot of it actually fits. The ground coverage, the amount of land we have, the parking requirement, everything kind of fits. The height, everything seems to fit right on the property, so we feel good about it. Does anybody have any questions?
You mentioned the path is accessible. It looks like there's quite an elevation change on both ends of that path.
Yeah, well, that's probably gonna need stairs, but that would be accessible from there. It's long enough to make it work. We'll just slowly come up till you get to this point. That's about 40 feet.
And then what's the vertical?
It goes up about 8 feet.
Where's this sewer line go?
So the sewer line is also
Here.
a comment.
It goes, it ends here.
Here.
Where's it go to?
That's
The
that.
major sewer line in
Here it is. So there's a sewer line right away, all through the back of the property, on the railroad properties. It actually crosses my land right here.
that's the major one, right?
So there is a manhole right here,
Uh-huh.
and there's another one here. So I tapped into this when I had this building, because I don't know where the sewer and water was. Right now, the water comes down the right of way here.
This is the
But the
sewer
sewer-
right away.
Right.
And it runs this way to the wastewater treatment facility, which is way down here.
It must. Well, we tapped into it when we,
Tap into here.
yes, so we're gonna tap into this other manhole.
It's gonna be,
Hold on, Bill. Right here is a manhole. It's just so simple to kind of go straight to it. So when we did this, we actually tapped into that because we had no sewer, we had no water on our property when we bought this land. We barely had electric. So you mentioned somehow we have to cross properties to get to it, but the railroad, again, if you look at this survey, that right of way actually touches our property, so maybe we could just go through here, so we don't have to, because that's a town, a village right away.
Thank you.
Here, we just did it, we didn't, we talked to the sewer department, he says, yeah, there it is, tap into it. We didn't even call the railroad people.
here. So I'm kind of lost. Where's This is for a right of way, yeah?
Correct.
It's running this way,
I don't know which way it runs.
there's the
But it does-
wastewater treatment facilities down here.
It would make sense, but it crosses, somehow
So that
crosses.
crosses there's a big pump house over here.
There is.
Either way, you've got sewer.
Either way, there's a manhole right
Proximal to the
there.
property.
It's
Yeah.
deep enough to get the invert to work out. We
Okay.
tapped into this in 5
Okay.
years, we've never had an issue. But that keeps going, right? You're correct. There's another one on the road. There's a manhole here, here, and here.
And the
So-
water line comes off of West Street?
So the water line, it's there now. You could, of course, there's a blue little cap right here. There's two of them, so there's one for Doty's building, and then there's another one here. So there's two of them right here. There's two separate lines. But we probably would have to update that because it's a sprinkler building. It needs probably a 2 inch or inch and a half line. So we're probably gonna have to kind of reconnect it all the way from the street right in. And we're gonna have, this is our little sprinkler room. So there's our little water line coming in. They're showing it on this side, but the existing one's here, but we're probably gonna abandon that. And the electric, there's actually an electric pole right there with the power on it. Oh, I'm sorry, it's right here, which services this building. So we might be able to just kind of dig it from here and go right to our building with the electric and have all the meters right over here. So the utilities were there, but we have to kind of maybe upgrade them to make sure they're powerful enough to handle our building. The garbage is just gonna be in this little spot right here. We'll probably put, 3 and 3 pails, 3 recycles. I don't see why you need a dumpster, it seems overkill. And then this little space right here, this little green space that you see, that is gonna be something also an amenity for the people that live here for dog walking or just a garden to plant vegetables. We can fence, it's all fenced off except for this spot right here. We could put a gate there. So that could be a good spot for them to kind of, get back to nature and do some earthing. So between the berm, which if you guys ever come by and see it, it is just so beautiful, it's so lush, and then this green space, I think that's a lot of offering to the people who will be living here. We already have people interested in taking these spaces, believe it or not. We didn't even build it yet.
You mentioned setback variances. Is the use, is this a permitted use in central business?
Yes,
Yeah.
subject to special, so
Special
this
use
is,
permit.
this is a special use, not a conditional use. So do you want me to go through
Sure.
my comments?
Just for use, it's good to the board.
Yep,
So this macadam goes here to the Doty Water Place. Right here it goes this way.
It's all paved, yeah. Yeah, he has a right of way to use our
He has
land.
it's right away there.
And so does Doug Stage's place.
The stage is here.
They both have a right of way to use it.
So that's not gonna be interrupted.
It's not gonna change.
Okay.
And this is pretty wide. Kirk and I discussed this, but when you drive there, you can easily pass somebody on. It's definitely wide. Of course, I do pass people on it. They're coming out of here and I'm going in. So I don't see it as a problem.
Is this good enough, wide enough turn for fire trucks and what have you?
It looks like it, but I would have a fire truck continue through.
Continue through.
I'm, to
You're not
the
gonna
other
turn around
street.
in there.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah, so
Rather
it's
than try and kind of shoehorn around. So
Yeah.
we would always maintain this as an open road. This whole thing would be paved all the way through, where now it's really just gravel and dirt, but it was paved. It just got destroyed over the years.
Is that enough of a turn for fire trucks?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the questions or the comments I had was
Yeah.
providing additional dimensions and some
Radiuses
details. Yeah.
Okay.
so just before I go into my comments, and I'll throw this out to the applicant, and Kirk, I'll throw this out to you as well. The site appears to operate with the roadways and the way the parking's set up as one site. And I only, my comments are on the application as you presented it. But have you considered not subdividing and operating it as one site?
It's a you question.
I was thinking that I could always monetize it someday and keep my feeding grain and maybe sell the whole thing someday or give it to my
I
kids.
just
or
throw that,
something.
I throw that out there. I think there's authority in the code that you can probably operate both as one site, and that eliminates a lot of, because as we get through the comments, I'll get into comments, there's gonna be a lot of cross easements and things like that for utilities and other issues, particularly with the connectivity. It just invites through traffic, so it just, I throw that out there. So I'll go on the comments on the application as presented. Obviously, it's in the CB zoning district. multiple residence is a special permit use. I say that with a big caveat. We have had this issue before. Your code has a definition for apartment as well as multiple residence. I think the application better meets the definition of an apartment. Both are special permit uses, both are use group G, so for our purposes of site plan, there's no change, but there are some distinctions between the two, so I would encourage you guys to look at that. One of my comments you'll see is to get an interpretation from Boris as to that issue on team apartment. And then the second, while you are getting an interpretation, I would just ask that you confirm the location of the yards so that we're abundantly clear on how we're processing yards, given the nature of the lot. I think I get it, but just let's have that confirmation so we have something in writing.
Yeah, get that confirmation from Boris as well.
Yeah, since you're already,
Because trust me, we struggled with it too. As far as it's
I'd like an
crazy issue.
interpretation because that answers the question. If you don't like the answer, you then have a path to either the ZBA or, but what I don't want to be is halfway through and somebody says, oh no, that's the side yard, not the
Right.
rear yard. I want to know what it is.
Yeah, that's tough because we have two frontages.
Correct, and you're not a corner lot and you don't want to be a corner lot.
Right.
So, you answered my question on comment number 4. The application is subject to GML 239, so it will have to get reviewed, sent off to the county. I think we're a little premature to do that. I would recommend one more iteration based on this initial round of comments before we refer that out. The proposed action appears to be an unlisted action, given the applicant requires approvals from the zoning board, the village board, zoning board of appeals, and the planning board. A coordinated review of the planning coordinated review with the planning board serving as lead agency is appropriate. So you can declare your intent to be lead agency. Comments as to the SCAF, the applicant's kind of touched on these. I would suggest if you're having issues with the form itself is to provide a narrative as to those issues.
We'll just white it out.
Well, I don't want, the one I'm concerned about is a couple of things. The yes, no, I'll take the whiteout on the
Yeah,
yes, no, I got that one.
Click yes and it checks them both.
Yeah,
I
that's what it's
appreciate
telling
that. 12A and 12B, SCAF does indicate potential impact on historic resources. It is not in the historic district, but I do recommend referral to SHPO on that basis. Number 20, which I believe is hazardous materials, that you can't just white out. Where is it? I'm assuming it's somewhere in the area, not necessarily on your site. Just tell me where it is.
We just went through this, right?
Yeah,
When
we
the
did, and I
burn,
did.
So I would refer back to how we
Yeah.
fill that form out.
That you can't just white out. You gotta tell me what that yes was. And if it's not on your site, tell me it's not on our site.
Both of those answers, actually, archaeology and hazardous waste, the EAF mapper auto-populates the answer.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
But once I have a yes, I gotta deal with it.
Yeah, so, and here's what it tells me. Remediation site, yes. Nothing further. But we'll
It
dig
may-
into it.
If I recall, we discussed that it's Railroad Ave.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive. Double check, but I'm almost positive it's Railroad Ave, because that's
Okay.
where the last test well that I know of.
What was that railroad out?
Yeah, it's far away from this.
That doesn't matter, I'm just curious.
It used to be a garage, auto shop.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
If you think about it, all those
Yeah.
grappa, olive oil,
Oh, I
all of
see.
those,
yeah.
right in. Okay. Jumping into subdivision. Subdivision application to be processed pursuant to chapter 120 simultaneously with site plan and special permit application pursuant per 120-4C. The planning board is to classify the proposed subdivision as minor or major. And I provided you the definitions. My recommendation is to classify it as a minor subdivision, which you can do this evening. Bulk table, just to be corrected, livable floor area is 900 square feet. You jumped the line when you did it, because the next one up is 1,200. Subdivision as proposed will require various cross easements for access and utilities. Approval shall be subject to review and approval of such cross easements by the planning board attorney and shall be recorded prior to the filing of the plat. Sewer connection appears to be located, we talked about this a little, on the adjoining railroad property. Applicant to demonstrate legal authority to connect to sewer as proposed. Applicant to confirm the proposed subdivision conforms to the fire access requirements as set forth in the New York State Fire Code, specifically as to width. Applicant to provide, I did try to pull it, it wouldn't let me, copy the recorded right-of-way, LIBOR, and I gave the LIBOR site. Given the apparent access and rights by others, a recorded maintenance agreement may be appropriate. I did list the variances as listed on the application. Lot width 23 feet where 125 is required. That's largely because of the flag. Side yard 1.5 feet where 15 feet is required. Rear yard 4 feet where 10 is required. Street frontage 21 feet where 90 is required. And then I asked for, again, subject to the interpretation of the building inspector. Okay. The project is subject to special permit criteria and procedures set forth in Article 16. Applicant to provide parking calculation. I further draw the applicant's attention to the requirements of 145-70A3C, which is relative to impervious surfaces on the Wayanda Creek overlay. So that's what I have.
Village board involvement?
Special
Special
permit,
use.
sorry.
Yeah, we were there last week for the special use permit.
So we did receive an acknowledgement, they accepted the application, they set an escrow for their review. I have a call into Ms. Hayes, who's works with the village attorney's office, to coordinate review. We have another pending application similar in nature. But hence why I suggested the coordinated review. So unfortunately, you are gonna do some ping ponging, you also have the ZBA. So
They go on concurrently.
generally,
Good.
I'm
that's
probably
better.
gonna, my recommendation would get you probably one more submission to address this round of comments. And then send you to, the ZBA. Again, you may want to evaluate, that subdivision question because that may eliminate one or two of the variances that are necessary. So you should just confirm that question.
That's
And then I'd
optional.
send you to the ZBA. But we still, if we do a coordinated review, we have to complete
Seeker.
seeker first.
And that's the case with the special use in the village board too,
Correct.
Okay, so we're gonna pay Boris a visit.
Yeah, I
Get some
wanna get
answers.
that issue just right up front. And I don't wanna halfway through this application,
Yeah.
they say, oh, by the way, you're really this use. And then, because there are two different sets of minor standards.
Totally makes sense. And we'll knock off as much of this as we can without getting too deep into it, knowing we need these variances.
Correct.
As far as fully engineering it. Come back to you, hopefully start seeker, and hopefully get a referral to the ZBA.
So there's two actions you can take this evening. I don't know if you wanna do Keith's comments first.
Yeah, we have lead agency, minor subdivision.
Yeah,
Let's,
sorry.
Well, Joe said,
He's
"Oh, I'm
just,
fine
he's
with
sitting
what-"
here so quietly.
we'll do
kill
Keith's
me.
comments first so we can.
I'll go through them quick. Liz touched on the SHPO. I would highly recommend getting that moving just because they have sometimes a long turnaround. The Indiana bats were targeted on the short EAF, so a note should be added either demonstrating the limit of tree clearing, if there is any tree clearing, and then also the time of year restrictions in the event that there is any removal of vegetation. You did provide a copy of the survey. You're going to need a subdivision plat if you do proceed with the subdivision. And then just cleaning up some of the notes and some of the information on the site plan. So the dimensions to show or that there's adequate fire apparatus access, the utilities, verifying the elevations of the sewer main and so forth, that everything can tie in. And then the ADA compliance, you did bring up that you are going to have ADA, so just verify that there is sufficient, and you're going to need to have a space dedicated for ADA parking, as well as the adjacent area for access. And then you did submit, just to let the board know, they did submit a formal submission for the floodplain development permit. My recommendation to Boris was not to review that until this is kind of further along. Otherwise, any changes here would kind of reciprocate modifying that application as well. But that could be reviewed at the tail end of it. That doesn't have any bearing on any of the applications toward the planning board, zoning board, or town board.
Village.
Yeah, sorry, village board.
Thank you, thank you.
I just have one question. The three, I guess these are not existing spaces? Those would be
They
new?
are, we park there now, but it's all gravel.
So they weren't shown on the original
They
site
weren't
plan?
shown.
Okay.
And when we did this, we proposed this berm
Mhm.
of importing that fill, we said, we're just gonna do those parking spots, and they said, no, don't even show that, just make that on the next submittal, so it just adds more impervious surface, so we would like to add a few more spots.
Alright, so you'll have a total right now of 9 on that lot and then
Correct.
potentially 10 on this
We
lot.
have 10 shown, correct. So let me ask you, if we were to turn this into an apartment, a vertical apartment rather than a horizontal one, so we would add one more apartment, so they would have parking under it, and we'd add another space here, does that affect any of this, or is it, should we just not?
If you're gonna ask for it early.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to go smaller, it's harder to go bigger.
Exactly.
So I will defer to your engineer as to the physics
Okay,
of whether
so-
that can be accomplished within that. But
Right.
if you're interested in adding that as another apartment, it should be in your
Yeah,
calculations.
because you currently meet the setbacks on that side, right?
It would stay the same.
Except for,
Right, this would just be kind
yeah,
of
you're within
like
the
shaped like
setback.
that now, so you
Yeah.
could see in the rendering.
Just, you'd have to update your calculations.
Correct.
So it'd
Mhm.
be 6 apartments instead of 5.
If we went that route,
So we'd have to update all the documents to match that.
Yeah,
we would, and if it's, we'll think it through and we'll come back next with
yeah.
a decision. But I just don't see how it would change any of these setbacks or anything, but it would change whatever calculations.
But I think for purposes, because we have to finish seeker, I'd much rather say, let's talk about 6 and maybe end up at 5 or even 6, than talk about 5 and go up to 6.
Exactly.
So,
I think the only practical implication is one more parking spot.
yeah. It's just, let's,
'cause
if
this
that's even
it's already
contemplated,
being
throw it-
developed, right?
do that analysis now.
Yep, and then we would add another one here, right there, and just move this over. 'Cause that's probably gonna be some kind of a gate for these people to use, that green lot, that green space. And then everyone here is welcome to come walk down here. I don't even need to be here, you can walk right down, right past Doug Stage's old building, just walk right through, check this out, you'll be very impressed with, you'd wanna live there too if you walked down there and saw it. It's just really a peaceful oasis down there.
And then this area over there, well, that's on your property, right? So that's green space.
That's all green space now.
What's the existing container?
It's just there, it's been there since I bought the place. It's just storage,
Shipping container.
shipping container, and I could even wrap it with the same siding to kind of conceal it, but it actually visually works because it's just part of the industrial look of the site.
And then I guess one more comment on the dumpster location.
Yeah, I was gonna put it right here, but I was thinking maybe it could even be a few pails,
Yeah, it's just the
this way the tops are closed,
practicality of,
guy backing in like to it.
so you would have a private service come on to take your trash?
I guess I'd have to figure it out.
Because recycling is,
I mean, it's only 10
Town or
people that
village.
would live here, or 12 people.
because the town, or the village,
But the town does recycling.
the village,
But the town does recycling.
the town, yes, the whole town of Warwick, right, so that's, they're not gonna come on private property
No.
to pick up their recycling cans, so.
Right, I would have to roll it to the street if I wanted
Yeah,
that.
so you gotta think
We'll
about the
figure that
practicality of having 6 cans in an entranceway, there's no.
I don't even see, right, 6, because you have 3 and 3 probably. But we have to, we roll our cans out, and they're empty, it's like 2
Yeah.
bags in it. I can't imagine a lot of waste being generated by 6 people, or 12 people at the most. I don't see families here, it's more like young professionals.
Yeah,
retired
it's
people.
just something to think about, because
Yeah,
I
we
see a
have
lot
to-
of recycling cans that are just, you know, like abandoned ships all over the sidewalks and the streets, so.
Yeah, they're this big and they put them to the people, retired
Yeah, and they just
people.
leave 'em there.
They put 1 bottle in there
Yeah.
a week.
So,
It's
Just,
such overkill.
with respects to the storage container, just take a look at that, because we did give your neighbor a hard time on that. Because they wanted to permanently have shipping
Yes.
containers, so.
Yeah, across the
It-
street
Yeah,
yesterday.
it's outdoor storage, so just be mindful, how it's, attached to the ground. I don't know if it's in the flood zone there, but I know it's close. So
517, I think, was it?
just since you're at the start of the process, just be mindful of that. If your intention is to keep it, if your intention is to remove it, fine.
Right. I could get it up that, I could push it up the hill. This literally drops 20 feet from here to there. This was all dug out once,
Yeah,
flat land.
just,
This church is way over my head here, the karate church. But yeah, maybe we could back it up or something.
like I said, just what I think the village is trying to avoid is okay, let's just plop a dumpster down. If you're gonna keep it and clad it or whatever, let's make sure it's treated as a structure on the site plan.
Storage shed or whatever.
Yeah.
We could clad it with this kind of materials too.
Just take a look at the
Part of the
code,
family.
because we did give your neighbor
I know.
a hard time on storage containers, so you're gonna get the same hard time.
Is there a specific concern with it in the floodplain that it might float?
Yeah,
Was it 517 was the floodplain? Was that the elevation?
Yeah.
The floodplain is 517.
Yeah, it's actually, well, according to these lines, it's not. But
I'm
Yep.
just trying to be consistent,
Right
that's all.
here, as you first come in my driveway, that is the 517,
yeah, clay attaches here.
and it drops down.
Does something like that.
So these are up at 524, so they're clearly above.
And then you have a retaining wall. Just a portion of this.
I don't even know if there's gonna be a retaining wall, because if you walk this property, you are so high above all of it, it just drops away so quickly. If you walk into this little parking lot here, you're almost at the height of the floors from there. So it's actually very natural the way.
So you don't really have
it's
to bring in a lot of fill. You're saying.
I don't think any fill's coming in, maybe just these guys, just to kind of conceal it.
Right, and some grading.
Yep, yep, like these pictures here, just to kind of bury it,
Mm-hmm.
so it doesn't stick out of the ground so far, yeah. I want to kind of bury it the best I
Does that
can.
affect your floodplain permit? Any other?
Jesse, if you're ready for a motion, I'll move that we declare intent to be lead agency for secret.
And
I'll
we-
second.
Hold on, okay. You're so fast at motion.
Just take a vote before she can catch him.
Just trying to be moving.
Okay, I will prepare a circulation, so Scott made the motion,
Brian,
and Brian,
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And minor subdivision?
minor subdivision.
So I could have a motion for that.
What is it we have to,
You have to classify it because that sets the process. So there's one process for minor and one process for major. And so you want to classify this as a minor,
all right,
because no new streets, no new utilities other than what's serving the site.
all right, then I'll move that we classify this as a minor subdivision.
Second. Bill, all in favor? Aye.
I'm sorry, who's my second?
Bill.
Bill. Thank you. So I'll prepare the notice of circulation for the relevant boards to circulate.
We'll fix up the EAF before.
Yeah, so that
Before that
thank you.
gets sent
I
out.
appreciate that.
We'll have it for you tomorrow, by tomorrow.
Thank Thank
See,
you.
he still has to learn. I've learned the hard way. The less I speak, the better it is for everyone.
That's not true.
Back on the joke.
Hey, don't say a word. But I wanted to explain kind of the history a little bit and what the intention is. But the nuts and bolts, I leave it to the side.
See what I mean?
Do you need any of these maps? You want to leave anything here?
I just want a copy of the survey.
Okay. Yeah, that's where they should have been digital in the middle and folded as well.
It didn't make it into the packet. That's why.
I don't know
Probably
why.
went to the town.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Will you send it to me, Joe, digitally,
Send what?
the survey?
Yeah,
Annexed into the town manual.
just give it to you, but it's in the digital.
You just gave up.
Should
It
be.
wasn't in there,
When
no.
I submitted it.
I put everything online.
Okay. Alright. Hold me some- Unless you want to save them for other people to see.
No, I think you turned down. Good for the next one?
Hey, a minute.
It wasn't. No, no,
Oh,
whenever you guys want.
right. Alright, next application on the agenda is 30 Brady Road, site plan approval. So,
Why don't you
there's
pull
four
chairs
here.
up?
yeah.
That's more fun.
Still don't understand.
Or you want to stand?
Always there.
I know, you always stand. It's fine, do whatever you want. Just talk loudly if you can.
Alright, so I wasn't here last meeting, I guess that was the joint public hearing. You've received numerous comments, obviously during the public hearing and then afterwards. We also received comments from the village board on their special use permits application review. They were obviously party to the public hearing last month as well. The applicant provided a comment response letter to many of the comments received during the public hearing and days afterwards. Keith circulated, was that revised or basically just repetition of?
It was just a repetition.
Okay,
it's
so
just
there's no
carryover
new
from last.
comments
No.
from the previous letter. And Liz, you didn't have any additional comments?
No, my intention tonight, because there was no submission, obviously, my intention tonight was to discuss the response to comments
Mhm.
as well as the village board's letter. And then I'd like to go through the part two
Mhm.
of the EAF, which
Yep.
we go through and identify if there are any further impacts that need to be, or there are any impacts that need to be further evaluated. So that's a tool that the board can use. And then we can go from there. Having spoken with the mayor, this is really, one of the things with how this process works is once we go through our seeker becomes binding on the village board. So essentially the village board is asking us to consider these points as part of your seeker and your deliberations. But ultimately, you're the body that is responsible for the ultimate seeker determination. And then once you issue a seeker determination, you can then take action on the application, and the village board can then take action. But right now, the village board cannot
Right.
do anything until they have this seeker. So that I know there was a discussion. I think they had a meeting last night. So comes out of that meeting.
Great.
Is the end game on the seeker determination, what does that look like?
So there's two possible paths, and I'll start with the first, which is probably more likely. So the first path is the EAF form, which we already have, and on some, if there's an element you identify, an elaboration on that element, not necessarily, and then a document called the negative declaration. This does not have an adverse impact because, and you run through that in that document, and that's the basis, leads into your approval. The second is you go through and you say that you adopt a document called a positive declaration. Yes, we know that this project will have, or is likely to have, environmental impacts. We want you to go prepare an environmental impact statement. And then at the end of that process, you would go through that process, and that's a thick, usually it comes in a binder. It's pretty thick. And then at the end of that process, you issue a finding statement. Can the project as proposed mitigate those impacts, or can it not? Given the scale of the project, Keith, I think you'll agree with me, this is not an EIS project.
No.
Okay, this is not you might ask for an elaboration on a specific item, for example, a narrative, a short narrative on landscaping or something like that, but this is not a environmental impact statement project. So my plan is to go through, identify what impacts, if any, that we need more information from the applicant on, and then prepare a negative declaration. And perhaps if there is an impact, I know one of the big impacts that was discussed, for example, was visual. We talk about landscaping buffering or things like that, things of that nature to offset that impact. So that's the path.
Thank you.
Keith, did you want to go through any of your comments before we review the? or do
I
you
mean,
wanna do
unless
it-
the board has any questions in regards to them, just because they were a carryover from the last submission, nothing new was submitted, so
Right.
unless the board has specific points that they want to touch on.
All right. Yeah, I think. Well, first, does anybody else have questions or comments?
I have one comment just about like pedestrian safety. I'm concerned about the tenants' safety getting out onto Brady because it is such a busy road. And I'm also very concerned about any potential guests that are gonna have to park their car in Robert. Is the expectation that they walk through the property from Robert to, the potential renovation? Or would they walk all the way around? And if so, will we be putting some sidewalks in there? Because that's also dangerous for pedestrians.
I don't know if you guys want to chime in or. Because I mean, it's so to your point, real quick, there is no sidewalks on
I
Brady
know.
Road. So
Right.
until you get all the way down to South Street Extension is where the actual sidewalks terminate. From that point on, all the way up the hill, there is no sidewalks, like even all the way up until the town line. So in this instance, I wouldn't recommend the board ask for sidewalks unless there was more development that was going on that would support pedestrian traffic.
What about the development across the street of all those condos?
So-
People potentially would want to walk to.
They
the
have,
village or-
right, so they have their own interior circulation sidewalks for their own development. So they can walk to their own amenities, walk internally, but there is no connection from that point out
Brady
to the
Road.
village.
Right.
So again, they're kind of isolated in their own little, area.
And some of that is because it's challenging to get, some municipalities make applicants as they come forward, put in sidewalks along the piece they control and hope that the sidewalks all start connecting. But essentially you have sidewalks to nowhere. I think we had an application
Right,
actually on
on
your
my
street
street, yeah.
where we spent a long time debating sidewalks,
Yeah.
but it was gonna be putting a sidewalk
Yeah.
to nowhere. So, that's one of the, now with respects to this particular, I do note that the way the driveway is configured, they are 90-degree spots, so the applicant, not the applicant, the residents are coming out, nose out. They're not backing out onto Brady, nobody's backing out onto Brady. This would be an issue with respects to if anybody along Brady had a party where they park, it's the same, it affects the same, it would be the same way, if anybody had a party. So, the plan is compliant with respect to our parking standards.
Any other questions, comments before we?
I think just to piggyback on the sidewalk thing, isn't that something that was in the comprehensive plan? 'Cause remember the debate we had over the property was whether to add that because how it does fall in with that comprehensive plan. So, and
I
just the
just can't
overall.
imagine people walking from Robert around, and so I feel like people are gonna walk through,
Yeah.
Look through where,
from parking on Robert.
Well,
through-
that should be
Yeah.
discouraged, because that's.
Well, of
trespassing.
course, it's residential, it shouldn't be, but if you walk that road, it is scary to
Yeah,
walk
yeah,
around
yeah.
and down. Like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, I'm over there, I work over there sometimes, and even in a car, I've gotta double look, you know, to make that left, so. Just my,
Well, the sidewalks, I think, are a valid point, because ultimately in the comprehensive plan, it does talk about the walkability and accessibility through that area. And not just that area, but all areas in
Yeah.
general, so.
but as Liz said, a sidewalk here would be a sidewalk to nowhere, because I don't think there's anybody put a reasonable sidewalk north of that.
No,
No, because
No.
it goes down, there's
Over
bushes,
1,000 feet.
yeah, and there's bushes there, and so,
that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Some codes require, usually those are, I see it, Keith, and maybe in business districts, where there's no sidewalks in business districts and new business has to come in, usually you don't attach that to a residential component. You know.
there are sidewalks on Robert though, like to
Yeah.
go
Yeah,
down,
yeah.
and then, I'm just saying, to go to the corner and then connect it to the proposed multi-res.
right.
But they don't have the ownership of that to do that.
But they have the ownership to start with this and create it, and hopefully, like you said,
They connect.
stagger on, connect in the future.
So the staggering in the future would be the back of those properties at the corner of Robert Drive. Because of the triangular shape of this property, you would have a
That's their
sidewalk.
backyard.
Right. So you'd have two properties that would have to essentially create a sidewalk in their backyard to make that connection, at least on the southern end. On the northern end, you would have to then kind of daisy chain all the sidewalks all the way down.
Well,
And
that's
that's-
the backyards of the Kenilworth properties,
Correct.
all the way down the street,
Mhm.
which is a little strange.
Yep.
Yeah,
Robert has sidewalks, because it was part of a comprehensive subdivision. This house predates that and is not part of that subdivision.
yeah, it would have been good.
Just seems unsafe.
There was a couple of comments made at the public hearing about the trees that we put in here and how tall they are, because there's a big rise that comes up here, and a couple of trees said a 6-foot tree is not gonna do anything, because it's probably 10 feet above the property line, where you put trees. So if there is a tree buffers, has to be much larger than that.
Well, that was one of Keith's comments too, I think, was to
But it was more of just adding
Identify
more.
the height of-
Identifying the
Height's
height.
an
the
issue because
trees.
these properties here are, I went down and looked at down Robert Drive. They're looking over this property. So if a 6-foot or even a 10-foot bush put there,
Well, but you get into it, so our code requires, I believe it's 6, right?
yes,
Six.
6 foot, right.
What you look at are relatively fast growing, so usually there's Jolly Green Giants is one type of tree that they grow pretty darn.
3 to 4 feet a year.
Which,
The green giant arborvitaes.
And that's, the code speaks to screening of certain pieces of the property, like parking, maybe around trash enclosures, likely around air conditioning units, things of that nature. It's not the entire property. You know, we're not necessarily considering screening every single, square foot of the building face or the building back. That's not in our code.
I think some of the screening was to lighting go to these houses up here. Car
Right,
drive.
and they're up here and the
Yeah.
headlights are down here, right? So
Yeah,
the lighting's
that's the other
not
side of
gonna
it,
be-
is the car is shining lower,
Yeah.
and the grade is actually absorbing it.
It's a very, very steep grade.
But we can talk about that, I think, when we get into
Yeah.
that form. Any additional-
So are we taking action tonight, or are we requesting a part 2?
No, so what you're gonna do is I'm gonna go through this form. It's,
Your daughter's not playing downstairs, is she?
No, she's just over here, or one of them's drumming their feet, but they're both.
Oh, okay, good.
It sounds
I
like
just
it's
wanna
there.
make sure they're safe.
I know.
That's all, you know?
Every time I look, I'm like, no, they're not going.
okay, so the part 2 form is essentially a series of questions. There's 2 answers. No or small impact may occur, not an issue. Moderate to large impact may occur, and that's a may, not will occur. and then we should look at that further, okay? So we're gonna go through this, and this is designed to kind of trigger in your mind, and it's based off the EAF questions in the form, what you expect, okay? So for example here, we're just gonna, if the chairman doesn't mind, I'll just jump right into the form. Okay. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No.
In my mind, no,
No.
it's a code compliant application, so no. Will the proposed use result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
No.
No.
Kind of.
And it can be, this is not an
Yeah.
absolute,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
gradient,
Yeah.
And the option, we said the options are no or small,
no and small,
and moderate.
moderate to large.
Right, so that's what you gotta think about.
So is it a small increase or is it a big increase?
If it's an increase, it's small.
Does everybody agree with that, generally?
I'm not
I
sure I
was gonna say
do, given the
moderate, that would-
feedback from the neighbors who clearly believe that a 4-unit building on the lot is a significant change from a 1-family residence.
I agree with that statement.
Can you give me the wording of the question one more time? I want to make it.
Will
it's
the
interesting.
proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? Now, the answer could be yes, it does,
Right.
but that change is contemplated by our code, and there can always be an explanation.
Right.
So if that's the thought process,
I think
that's fine.
that wording
Okay.
fits my thinking.
I agree.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
Based on the neighbors, I would have to say yes.
Okay. I will tell you, question 4 is no, because there's no critical environmental assessment area in this Orange County. Okay. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
It was an interesting debate at the village board's meeting. We got the summary of their request to us to consider a variety of aspects. But having been there, I think I should say that they debated that question. And there was a difference of opinion there on the village board.
Right.
Um,
One thing this board may wish to do is ask Kristen to provide the traffic analysis from across the street, because it's fairly recent. It's not yesterday, but it is fairly recent, and see what that traffic analysis says. Is this a type of project where I'd say, go get me a traffic study? Probably not. But you have the benefit of a traffic study across the street that's, what, 4 or 5 years old?
2020.
Yeah.
2020, 6 years old. So let's take a look, and you might be able to review that and incorporate those findings, because this board has already looked at that.
Yeah, I think people are significant, people are very nervous about the big development across the street. And an increase of any sort, a marginal
Right.
increase, is a concern, and that was the nature of the debate at
Right.
that meeting. I think, to me, it seemed like that ended with more or less a consensus that yes, it's an increase, but it's not significant relative to what's happening across the street.
Right. And I think we should pull that and have that, and you guys can review it and
Yeah.
see what, because you have reviewed that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't think I'd say no, because it does represent an increase, but not a significant increase relative to what else is going
Not
on.
compared across the street, right?
Okay. I think the answer to this next one is no. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supply or wastewater treatment? And I believe we have
It
plenty
would
of
be minor
capacity.
or small.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? We know from the form, no. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? Will the proposed action result in an increase for the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
So that was also brought up, right? Was water, stormwater, things of that nature, I think, either previously existing on the property or
Right into the garage, right?
concerns with flow, so I think that
We're
needs to
not
be
at a
addressed.
SWIP, we're not at the thresholds for a
No.
SWIP, right?
No,
No.
no, it's more of, so the benefit to the project is that there's an existing improvements on the property as is. Due to the nature of where the house is situated, being it's so close to the road, it kind of limited how much impervious surface it had to start with. By the nature of the construction to expand the development of the property, it will be changing the natural drainage courses, but it's not going to create a huge significant runoff. I think it's just more of providing a adequate conveyance so that doesn't, create issues downstream.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna check note of minor with that explanation in our final document. Will the proposed action create hazard to environmental resources or human health? The answer is no here. Is the potentially affected disadvantaged community identified as having comparatively higher burdens or vulnerabilities by the disadvantaged community assessment tool? We're not a disadvantaged community.
Yikes.
It's a new question on the seeker form that just popped up. And so that number 13, which is, will the proposed action cause or increase pollution burden within a disadvantaged community? No. Okay. So that's the extent of the seeker, and just in terms of the part 2, going through, I think we talked about explanations and a little bit review that Warwick Commons traffic study. Make sure there was no mitigation required in there. Okay. We talked about stormwater management. We talked about site design, visual impacts, operational considerations. What we haven't talked about, and this can certainly be a condition of your approval, there's been lots of discussion of property management on that, and we certainly can incorporate those components into your approval, and the special use permit can likewise do that, as well as have a time frame so that there's a check-in period on that. So with that, what I would suggest is that you authorize me in coordination with Keith. Been there, done that. What I'd ask is that you authorize me and Keith to draft a negative declaration for your review at our next meeting.
Okay.
Incorporating this discussion, that gives us an opportunity to pull that other traffic study, review it, and I'll provide you a copy with that as well. And then I will circulate that. I will try to get that out several days in advance so that you can read the negative declaration. All right. And then we would be in a position to review and discuss that at next meeting. Does anybody have any questions?
I have one about the letter, and I guess
Sure.
for me, how are we going to verify the accuracy of the existing topographical information and determine whether the additional field survey information is warranted?
So
That
that
one is-
comment's alluding to the note that's saying that the topography was being generated from the county GIS source.
Okay.
By the nature of the project, it's up to the discretion of the board if they think that more information is necessary, and that could be a field certified survey that a surveyor would go out and take elevations of the property in order to kind of ensure that the topography that's being shown is accurate, and then modify or update as needed. It hasn't been something that the planning board has done on a lot of projects unless it's been something extremely critical on the elevations to ensure that the design can meet the expectations. In this instance, because of the setback from the house to the road or the dwelling or the building to the road, there is enough, I think, space or adequate space to grade the property and not have a gross negligence change based on what the topography that was provided versus what the survey could add to this map. But again, it's up to the board. I mean, in my professional opinion, I think this is sufficient for the level of detail that's being provided. One of my comments is asking for more grading information on the proposed side of this. One of the components that would be for the final approval that has been for other applications is a request for an as-built at the termination of construction so that the constructed building matches what was previously approved.
Do they need a stormwater detention in any place? I don't think so.
No.
No.
It was really, so, and that was one of my comments as well, is
Yeah.
just really just creating a better conveyance in the back, just because it does discharge in that direction.
Goes in this, right.
Yes. So as long as there's some kind of conveyance, something, it could be a swale with some check dams, it can be a rain garden or a little depression to kind of slow the stormwater. It's not point sourcing it and sending it to your neighbor's property. So this way, the greener you can make it, the less likely of a runoff you're gonna have. Just by nature of the grading, you're creating a man-made swale on the back part of that property anyway, so you can, any good contractor can easily improve upon that and just create a little bit of a depression area so that the water has somewhere to collect and
So it'd
then,
be right over here, then,
exactly.
right where they have a
The stock.
soil stockpile.
Yes.
So dig that out and make a little rain garden or like that kind of thing there?
But again, it's not required, so it would be,
Improvement.
yes, it would be a large improvement, because there is no stormwater conveyances, there is no, there is catch basins on Brady Road.
Right.
A lot of that water does kind of shoot across the top of that, because there's not a lot of pitch, there's no curbing, there's nothing there to kind of really convey the stormwater into those catch basins. But on the back side of the properties, because of the topography then going up to the houses on Roberts Drive, it's created this little depression area. And then that water will then just continue on to the next neighbor down the street.
You can see that when you look down, like there's a clear water line of where water has been. Does your garage still get flooded?
No, the basement has flooded when there is severe rain.
Yeah.
Like we had that really big storm 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago, when it like rained for like days upon days and we got flooded then, but the garage hasn't been flooded in.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem we have right now is that there's like no curbing on the Brady Road, so
Right.
all the water
Right.
just jettisons
Right
right
down
across
the-
and right into the driveway and then
Yeah.
out the back.
Yeah.
So to that point, I would recommend, that could be an improvement that you guys can put in, is having some kind of a curbing. It could be concrete, it could be blacktop, but
Yeah, so you
providing,
direct the water back more.
or just sending it to those catch basins.
Right.
There's a catch
Right.
basin in
Down the
front,
road.
Right.
and then there's one that's down further. So the more that you can convey all that water, will keep it from running off of Brady onto your property.
Right.
You're still gonna get some water that
Yeah.
comes off the back of the house with the, the roof leaders
Yeah.
and so forth, but, the trees are gonna help. Anything you can keep green is gonna help kind of uptake a lot of that stormwater.
Are we able to show grading outside of their property? Because a lot of, this is a big,
Or the hell, it just gets bigger the further down.
well,
you go.
this,
no, there's-
like, because this distance between the road, the edge of the road, and your property line,
There's a
That's-
huge space
but
between
I
the
would-
road
a lot of
and
the
our
work,
property.
if we put curbs here, you're,
No,
I'm
no,
not
I would,
hopeful.
so I would recommend sending a email to the DPW commissioner and just request that you, at your own financial,
okay.
Want to make improvements.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
not so much you're touching the road, it's just you wanna create a curb to kind of convey that stormwater into those catch basins.
Okay. Yeah, you can even,
And that's the extent of the grade, you said grading off property, that's what you're talking about, not that you need to grade, you don't need a grading easement or a construction easement on
no,
somebody
it would,
else. Okay.
so if they want to try to direct a flow from Brady Road, that goes this way, to these catch basins, even just doing a little swale to direct.
Okay.
But it would be completely off their property, it would be within the.
It would be in the villages right away.
Yeah.
I want to make sure they were
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
the village and not a third party.
No,
No,
private
no,
party,
it's
the
village.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, a call to Mike would be a good idea to have those conversations.
Yes.
Because we can incorporate that now. We can incorporate that now. And
And I don't think he's gonna fight you on it. I mean,
No.
it's gonna be an improvement all around. But yeah, it's swale, a curb, anyway.
And if you could show some vegetation on the lower end of the property,
Down,
anything to, like Keith is saying, anything green, if you can
yeah, so we can
show-
talk, we could even, showing 2 rain gardens or something would make sense.
Something that's, can be relatively simple, I think, but it would show an effort to mitigate that issue that a lot of people have talked about.
So, is the concern that the majority of the water movement is actually from off-site to on-site and then through the property, right? So it's not that the site
It's kind of
itself-
it's a two-prong approach. So by limiting how much water comes off of Brady,
Mhm.
you're decreasing what's coming onto the property.
Mhm.
You're not eliminating what's being generated from the property
Correct.
itself. So you are going to be increasing the impervious with the parking lot and the larger
Mhm.
building. But by nature of having that swale and that small depression, that's alleviating any additional stormwater that would be generated or what fell onto the property.
Mhm. Because you're still gonna get some obviously from all this topography.
You-
that's
you're-
happening.
Right,
you're
I
gonna-
was
It's a
wondering where the
natural
flow of water
drain,
was coming
essentially,
from, if
yeah.
it's both.
And it's going to be coming from neighboring properties as well. It's not
Right.
just from this only property, just by the nature of it being a depression,
Well,
that's where it's
yeah.
going.
Yeah, and all that impervious surface of the road right next to it. So.
One of the other issues, and my understanding is it was concern for lighting and on-site lighting. My understanding is there is not a plan to have like our traditional pole. You're not making this a commercial
No.
lot. And there are ways you put conditions that any lighting has to be
Shield.
night sky compliant, and we can certainly incorporate that into your approval. So that should be mitigated through the night sky compliance, which is shielding. They can't just have a big spotlight off the back of the big spotlight off the back of the house.
Right, you'll have lighting around the building. So-
Right,
That shield is not going out.
it goes down, yes,
Is lighting a requirement?
no.
So
But I would, even if you have like security lighting attached to the house
Yeah,
itself,
it
just
wouldn't
take a
be
look
dark.
at it. Just
I mean-
Sure,
take a
by
look
the
at it
parking lot.
and where it's pointing and I know you figured, you've got it, you got it. But I think in terms of the parking lot, you've already said that wasn't your intention to put pole lights or anything like
No.
that. So that pretty much, that larger scale issue, so then they're gonna be it's gonna be lighting that you traditionally associate with a house. We just need to make sure that it is shielded and pointed away from,
most of the lighting on this is gonna be soffit lighting anyway, because there's a covered porch,
so
there's
it's
2
gonna go
entries.
down, it's gonna go straight down.
Right, straight down, so it's not even, it's not even really on the front of the building, it's not even on the back of the building, it's really on the front of the building, and you got lights from across the street that are causing more lighting.
The building itself is beautiful. I was wondering, do we have a view of the back of it, like what the neighbors from Robert would get to see?
We did last
how
time.
close-
I was gonna say, I definitely remember seeing one.
Could you submit it to Chris and I as well?
I assume.
Yes.
Oh, that's not the white version. Show them the multicolored version. It's the same thing but white.
I think it's right here, Chris.
That's the front.
Just straight down.
Yeah, because we had to change the colors for the ARB.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
I mean, it's all white.
It's all white instead of.
It's not, it's off white.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So,
This is the older
Oh.
one. Or is that the new one?
That's
the new one.
that's the new
it.
one.
Thank you, Keith.
There you go, Vince.
Oh, thank you.
That big
I agree with this.
That's the air conditioning, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so those would have to be screened.
right, so like the air, con- yeah, like just like little cosmetic things.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no rear,
Entrance.
Porches,
No.
yeah, I wanted to make sure there was
No,
no
no.
trellis
so it's
or,
all
you know.
in,
No.
Suite Unit only has one access? Or is
So
it-
each of the bottom floors have one access in, and then the top floors come down the middle together.
Okay. And I
That
guess
makes
the
sense.
emergency egress is through a window.
Yeah.
Yeah, standard residential. We play the game with those renderings, whether we're supposed to show the building or make it look really pretty with landscaping.
Sure, no,
So we
of
show the
course.
building
We
because that's the
appreciate it.
conversation. We could
Yeah.
really hide it if we wanted to show landscaping, but
And then what's the distance between, you know, because
right at the
it's,
setback.
yeah, it
What, the
seems
side yard?
that, like from,
35
yeah,
to the property.
To the
line.
property.
to the property
Oh, so
line.
this one is, yeah, so it's, yeah, 35 to these corners.
What's the current?
Um,
Garage is probably less.
Yeah, I
Here's
just,
some of the color back views.
Well, the ARB decided they didn't like
No.
the colors, so we're
No,
back
but
to.
it's,
just
but
the
it's
white.
white,
Yeah.
but
Right.
it's the same,
Yes.
you know, that's what they would look at,
Right.
but white, I mean, it's not any.
Yeah, it'd be like, well, okay. That's it, it's a neighborhood.
yeah, so I think the existing rear setback now is 16 feet.
And that
right?
sounds about right, because we had to get a thing for the garage
Yeah.
variance, is
Yeah.
that the word?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going from 16 feet to
That's roughly
35.
the area of the parking. It's roughly in this area, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That's where it's narrow.
Where's the dumpster on this one here?
So I'm showing it, so not a dumpster, we're gonna do individual.
Cut cans to move.
Cans,
Yeah.
so the DPW, I mean, garbage truck will come in and pick up.
No,
No,
they
no,
have to
no,
bring it to the
We
street.
have to bring it to the
Have
street.
to drag it
I
out
have
the
to drag
street.
it to the street.
Yeah.
Is there enough room on the street to put 5 cans?
It would be if there was sidewalks.
So we
I
can
mean,
look-
the street's quite long. We don't have to put it on the driveway part of the thing. We can.
Well, before, right? Before trash, for
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
recycling,
don't
separate
think about the same
days.
day.
Yes. And you don't, truthfully, don't need 4 recycling.
I would hope not. That's a
So
lot
for
of
our building over here, right by CVS,
You have
we
one,
have
two?
5 units. We have 3 cans and 1 recycling, and that's always more than enough. It
Yeah.
never gets that full, so.
Yeah, those are big cans.
Where was the
95
shed on this drawing, and what was the, you know, the distance from the property line for the shed?
Oh, I would assume it was very.
So this
Like, it was like
existing shed has to be.
5 feet or
just-
something
Yeah.
like that? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yes.
okay.
That's a couple of feet, and
So
it'll be
the
removed.
proposed building would be quite
Far away,
far
yeah.
away
So the
from that.
proposed building will be
That triangle.
within this.
Right, yeah.
That way.
And essentially, all the surrounding area, other than the park, it would be green, open space.
But I feel good about knowing that there's not a back entrance to each of those with, you know, a generator or an air conditioning on, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
then
no.
then it seems
Well,
a
that was my
little bit
question about
more.
lighting too, because usually
Correct.
with the door, you have.
Right, then you
Right.
have, right, so no back door, no.
No, so there should be a door here, and a door here.
Yeah,
One of the renderings did show a patio on the back.
yeah, like a fire pit or something.
Well,
Is
so
that-
we have
Common
talked about
space.
using common space and putting that back there. Whether that happens or not or is still up for debate, but it is
Yeah.
something we have thought about.
Right, there's nothing to stop the tenants from obviously using the space
Yeah.
as open space.
Picnic
However,
table, what have you.
however they
One of the-
agree to use.
One of the things the village appreciates is green space, and that's what is really provided there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
play area, whatever it may be.
Okay. Anything else? So I think, did we make the motion? Not yet. We continued our discussion. Is there anything, other impacts that folks want me to, again, this form is a tool, but if there's an impact or something that you want me to include in my discussion, I'm trying to now take notes here, and I'll re-listen to the tape to make sure I incorporate the debate and, then, you know, the discussion. We talked about stormwater, we talked about lighting, we talked about architectural style. We spoke about spacing. We're gonna pull the traffic study from the other project. Drainage we talked about. So all of that will be incorporated into the document. And so really the standard for this board is your baseline is what's there existing and does it create an impact, right? So, we're gonna go through that. Does the board have anything else?
I
So-
have just one other, I feel like I heard each of your neighbors talk a lot about the trash and how that was a big concern. Is there any way that we could, I don't wanna say mandate, but like some kind of encasing for each of the garbage
Well,
pails?
the cans themselves are going to be in a shared enclosure, which is
Like
what
a
our code
A shed of
requires.
some sort or something?
Yeah, it's essentially the equivalent of a dumpster enclosure. You're just gonna put.
And then they'll pull them out here to here.
Just
Believe
my
it.
understanding is there's a lot of bears that come
Yeah.
through there, so,
there are
you know, I
Say
just,
yes.
Bears, deer,
Yeah.
we get it all.
Um,
I think there was discussion too about having a roof or something.
And having a
on
roof
top
is
of
not it's not negative to my life. Putting a roof on the thing is fine with my life.
sure. I just wanna make sure that we're answering, you know,
Yeah.
some of the louder concerns of your neighbors, and
Yeah.
trash was definitely a
Yeah.
recurrent theme.
it. And it's
Um,
screened as well.
Sorry, along those lines, there was also a suggestion that I thought was pretty good, and maybe you could incorporate it onto the plan of when they are pulled out to the road, to make sure there's some sort of a level space to
Yeah.
help make sure that they don't blow over in the wind when they're on the hill.
Or get washed
you mean you
away.
don't like finding your trash can halfway down the cul-de-sac like I do?
Not mine.
And, I mean, a lot of the trash picker-upper people are very kind. If you bungee them when you're out there, like, they understand the situation, they don't want, you know. I
On a
just,
bad windstorm though, an empty one.
of course,
goes.
no, I know, and then it's in that road, so, for sure.
And we do have code requirements, so a can that's left, the can is really designed to go out, and they would, and like any property owner are subject to those code
24
requirements.
hours, I think.
Yeah,
When?
Whose
24 hours.
job is that to,
24
because I
hours?
know that's,
Yeah.
you know, not always the case.
so there's a couple of different, folks, it can be code enforcement. The hard part is, and I can only speak for Village of Florida, because that's
Sure.
the other village I represent. In Florida, we collect our own trash, so if the guys see it, they put a notice on the can, but in here, trash hauling is
Private,
private,
right.
so the guys aren't gonna necessarily see it, and the town
Sure.
guys are by contract, so they won't, you don't have that immediate, but if somebody's driving around, Boris can issue a, and I believe PD can as well.
Okay.
I will double check that for you. But yes, that is a requirement,
Okay.
and repeated violations would be grounds to rescind the special use permit.
Yeah, so I'd say maybe put somewhere on the site plan a proposed
Black
location
area.
where they could go.
So again, that would be something that would be outside their property, so it would be something that we can talk to.
Yeah, it's obviously
Like
not in your
motion.
driveway, right?
Yeah.
So it's,
All right, is there a motion to authorize me to draft that subject to your review?
I'll make a motion for you to draft that, subject to our review.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second, Scott Brown.
Yes.
Negative declaration.
It's a huge, you can see, driven by them in the middle of the day.
Candles closed tight, wherever it's supposed to. Yes, strong handles.
My bear carried it 50 feet into the woods.
Wow.
I was not a happy camper.
I think it's the same bear, because I see him about once a month go like house to house in the village.
Oh, I live 10 miles outside of the
Oh.
village, so it's not that bear.
There was one, I literally didn't want to go outside, I was just drinking my coffee. Okay, I don't know what- he just knocked it over, like, I'm not going
Got
there.
the ring cameras now, we're all like, there's a neighborhood watch for bears.
I've actually started
laser,
pushing my
it doesn't
trash
have to
can
really that
against
far,
the wood
since in the
pile,
backyard.
so that it can't pull it over backwards, because it doesn't really tip over forwards that far.
Alright, so
So we're all getting this.
the next meeting, we can expect, I guess, a draft.
And I'll circulate it in advance, so that you've read it, if there's red lines, you know, if there's comments, you can email me in advance. So I'll circulate it well in advance.
Right, and I guess I would suggest making revisions
Yeah.
for comments, either from Liz and what we spoke about today.
This one's, who's smarter than this guy?
When's the next submission deadline?
It's 3 weeks before the next meeting.
Okay.
So that, When is that, next week?
Yeah.
Today.
No, it's not. Hold on.
Calendar's gone.
Oh, yeah, where's it got the big,
I can tell you from the computer, it's fine. We don't need
why is that a big
paper.
clock? What is that thing?
Who wants
September
paper?
8th, is it the day after Labor Day would be our meeting, right?
September 8th
Oh.
is,
It's
Okay.
Thursday.
No, it's
So
the 10th.
September 10th would be the
Oh.
meeting,
It's-
and then
Thursday.
8/20 would be the submission date.
You moved the meeting to
a week from
Thursday?
Thursday.
Yes, because remember, we couldn't have it on the Tuesday.
Well, the village board, I think.
Because
has
the
theirs.
village board.
Exactly right, yeah.
I'm gonna forget that. You're gonna have to email
I'm
us
gonna
all.
forget
week
that.
before.
No, I will.
September.
So the deadline's the 20th.
Yes.
You got 9 days. That should be
The
Thursday.
next is the 15th?
10th.
10th, on
10th.
Thursday.
All right. I think that's it for tonight. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Take care.
That's my bear.
It's your bear? Your bear.
I call him my bear. I don't know whether it's a he or a she, but
That's at
Oh my gosh, Liz.
67.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Good size?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on.
Gordon Terrace, we call it Bear Gordo.
No, I was just trying to figure out, I just went over a few months back.